Special shout out to Nick Oleniski. He requested that the PowerBomb Nation do a special review on Judgment Day 2006. So without further ado, hey, hit my music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Judgment Day 2006 is emanating from Phoenix, Arizona, the U.S. Airways Arena. It was May 21st, 2006, and drew an attendance of 15,421. The theme song for Judgment Day 2006 was This Fire Burns, a song by Killswitch, which was on the Reckless Intent album, which they promote several times throughout the show. What you don't see on this show is a match between Matt Hardy and Simon Dean. What I didn't see was any recollection or video of this match. So who knows how good it was. I do know that Matt Hardy went over. Not a big surprise there. Simon Dean was not a classic WWE personality. So to start the show, we had the WWE Tag Team Championship match. In 2006, during this pay-per-view, M&M were the reigning champions. They were very dominant, with the exception of one team. This one team had 5 victories and 0 losses to M&M leading up to their 6th match. That team was none other than Paul London and Brian Kendrick. So, starts out, M&M are the first people out on the pay-per-view. You got Mercury, Nitro, accompanied by Melina. Melina was fantastic through this entire match. M&M's storyline gets threaded throughout Judgment Day, being one of the secular points of this show. The match started out hot. Melina can draw heat like no other. Having her as the manager of this tag team was the right idea. She was a very classic heel manager, especially tonight. Kendrick and London have unbelievable chemistry together, and it really shows in the ring. And a couple of the really great spots from this match, if you go back and watch it, what I want you to look for is there is a spot in the beginning of the match where London drops down onto his belly. Nitro comes off the ropes, goes to leapfrog over him. London pushes up just slightly off the mat. Nitro gets his feet caught and plant face first into the mat. Great spot, a great use of a leapfrog that I've never seen before. I never noticed it back in 2006. Have never noticed that it's ever happened before. A good spot that I thought was nice and unique. The most unique spot wasn't that. It came from a point where Paul London was standing flat-footed. Mercury was on the outside. He jumps up, drop kicks Mercury. Off of the drop kick, he finishes a full moonsault onto Nitro. Whoa, my mind was just completely blown at that point. And it was really phenomenal. This was a really solid match. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the main reason behind it is the heat that Melina was able to draw from the outside. The fact that she grabbed the ref, pulled him out of the ring, and done all the things you expect a manager, especially a heel manager, to do. She made the difference in this match. Outside of that, Brian Kendrick is absolutely amazing. It's something back in 2006, I think I took it for granted. I was not a big fan. After seeing the way his career ended and a lot of stuff he'd done later on, it's really nice to go back and watch and be able to appreciate just how good Kendrick actually was. And without Kendrick in this match and just his solid performance, the match wouldn't have been nowhere near as good as it was. Like I said, go back and check this one out. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. That's for the match. I'll give a 5-star for the story that starts to build directly after the match. because we get the implosion of the WWE Tag Team Champions, or former Tag Team Champions. This Judgment Day of 2006 was when M&M imploded. Directly after the match, Melina comes into the ring and gets into Mercury's face, which is then followed by a hard slap right across Mercury's face, which leads Nitro to be on the side, kind of curious, hey, what in the world's going on here? So eventually he sides with Melina after Mercury grabs Melina on the second slap and kind of pushes her back. Nitro then intervenes, and it winds up with Mercury and Nitro getting into it, rolling around in the ring, rolling to the outside. It gets broke up and, of course, pushed to the backstage area. So we see the implosion of the WWE former Tag Team Champions, M&M. So next they cut to a King of the Ring promo. They start building this to how Lashly and Booker T have gotten to this point. And we see a few different spots as they build up. It was a pretty good package. You know, nothing too much to write home about. But what is to write home about is the very next match. Because the next match on the card is none other than Fit Finlay versus Chris Benoit. Now, going into this review, I was very curious because I was under the impression, and now this is my fault for not going back and watching enough stuff on the WWE Network like a good fan should. However, I was under the impression that Chris Benoit matches were pretty much cut out of a lot of WWE pay-per-views. That being said, if they were, you can catch them on Peacock, because this is one I thought I might have to go to YouTube and try to find so I could see. This was definitely the match I was the most looking forward to on the card, and lo and behold, it didn't let me down, because it started out, of course, Benoit comes out first, then he got Fit Finlay because his name is Finlay and he loves to fight. And then he gets the typical Irishman music or Scottish music that they all wind up with the bagpipes playing real slow at the beginning. So the two get in the ring. They go in for a lockup. This is a strong lockup. They are going around the ring, locked up with each other. They go down to the mat, maintain the lock, roll outside of the ring, and are still locked up with each other as they're going around the ring. This eventually breaks. They give each other a stare down, get back in the ring, get nose to nose with each other, and that's when Benoit grabs Finlay's legs, pulls him out from an under, slamming him down to the mat. Benoit immediately goes in for the sharpshooter. Finlay blocks it. He's kind of squirming around the ring, blocking it a little more. He then eventually flips Benoit over, goes in for a leg lock, which he is able to apply and pull up, and goes to grab Benoit's face. Benoit then reaches around with his short little stubby arms, grabs Finlay in a chokehold, rolls Finlay over. This was some great chain wrestling to begin this match. Finlay then, this is where the chain wrestling ends, because then Finlay, with the referee on the other side, Finlay manages to grab hold of Benoit's tights, pull him over. He gets a 2 count out of this, so he gets a near fall out of a pretty good heel move. This match did not disappoint going forward. It was absolutely hard-hitting and an absolutely brutal match, and the fans were hot on this. The Benoit chants were amazing. The heat that Finlay was able to draw was unlike anything that I've really ever seen Finlay get to do before, until maybe a little later on in this particular night. After they go back and forth for quite a while, Benoit misses his headbutt off the top rope. Finlay moves out of the way. He does get the ref distracted. Finlay hits him with the chair, almost gets another 3 count on Benoit, but Benoit winds up getting him into the crossface and getting the win as Finlay taps out. I will give this a 4 out of 5 on my scale. This was a fantastic match and definitely a must watch. The next match on the card is going to be Jillian Hall versus Melina. Melina's coming out to the ring, and you can tell she's still out of sorts from everything that's happened so far in the evening with M&M. Jillian Hall very upset. Right before this match, they showed the package of these two getting into it backstage, where a fight ensued. They go through a couple of tables back in catering. So they come out to the ring. Jillian's first, followed by Melina. No singing or anything with Jillian. I'm not sure that she was in that gimmick right now. Definitely no mole off her face that the Boogeyman's going to be eaten off later on. But this was actually a very solid match. A lot of good spots in it. A lot of actual good wrestling, which was rare to see in the Divas division during this particular era. Jillian Hall could really go. Melina, obviously one of the better women wrestlers out of this time period all around. So we get them in. They cut to Billy Graham right before the match, show that he's in the house. Jillian wins despite Melina had the ropes. The ref didn't see it. Jillian rolls her up. Melina grabs the bottom ropes. Ref didn't see it. There's a 3 count. Jillian wins, rolls out of the ring. Melina is furious. She's in the ref's face, absolutely going ballistic, freaking out on her way back to the dressing room. I will give this match a 3 out of 5. Like I said, I enjoyed the match. It was pretty good. And so a 3 out of 5. As Melina's leaving, she gets to the ramp. Crystal comes out and gives her an interview with a big smirk on her face and says how Melina hasn't had a good night. That immediately prompts Melina to put up some fists and take it right to Crystal, and they scamper around until some refs come out and break it up. And then we cut to a promo featuring JBL with his United States championship over his shoulder, saying, "Como estas, Phoenix?" This was a good promo by JBL, which at this point in his career, JBL was on fire. He was one of the best heels in the industry at this point in time. And you could really tell he was filling the gimmick, and all of his promos were on fire. They then cut to a King of the Ring classic, or a crowning as they called it. This particular one showed Jake Roberts versus Steve Austin. They showed the finish of the match, and then they showed Steve Austin's famous speech. You talk about your John 3:16s. Well, Austin 3:16 says, "I just whipped your ass." And of course, being the most famous King of the Ring moment, in my opinion, just like I'm sure 99.9% of everyone else. I love this particular moment of the pay-per-view so far. The next match that they get us to is the Cruiserweight Championship match. We have Gregory Helms, the current champion, versus Super Crazy. So this wasn't funny Gregory Helms in the Hurricane outfit. This was serious Gregory Helms, who came out. These two put on an okay match. It was what you expected out of the Cruiserweight. There were a few high-flying spots. Super Crazy, of course, this was at the time when he was in the group where they came out on the riding lawnmowers. So, of course, he had his big green John Deere that he rode to ringside on. Outside of the entrances might have been my favorite part of the match. There was one really cool spot. Super Crazy goes to do his typical dive over the top rope. The ref throws up his hands and stops him. The ref turns around and leans over the top ropes to check on Gregory Helms, who is on the outside, only to have Super Crazy bounce off the ropes, come over about 3 foot before the ropes, dive, go over the ref and the top rope, then landing on Gregory Helms. That was a fantastic spot. We got some good back and forth going after that. Winds up that this is the second match in a row where the ropes come into play because Gregory Helms gets his foot up on the second rope, gets himself a little leverage, and still retains the Cruiserweight Championship. Again, a 2.5 on this particular match. Backstage, we have Melina and Nitro going back and forth, yelling at each other, figuring out what was going on with Mercury and what his problem is. And they barge into the general manager, PowerBomb alum Teddy Long, the general manager of SmackDown at the time. They barge into his office asking him, hey, what are you going to do? I had hold of the ropes. And all this stuff where Melina then smacks Teddy Long across the face. That's 2 smacks across the face to somebody on tonight's show by Melina. Where Teddy Long immediately turns around and fires Melina. Nitro is in complete disbelief and starts running his jaw, only to find himself on the unemployment line at the hands of Mr. Teddy Long. From there, we roll into another King of the Ring classic. This is, crowning. This is Kurt Angle versus Rikishi. This is at the 2000 King of the Ring. Shows Angle, Rikishi going back and forth. Angle wins. Then they cut to the build-up between Kurt Angle and Mark Henry. They show the video package where Mark Henry has managed to lay Angle out several times. He actually costed Angle his King of the Ring spot. Angle had to forfeit the match against Booker because he was injured where Mark Henry had put him through a table. Well, he laid him on a table and then done a Mark Henry splash off the top rope. Hello? That is going to put anybody on the shelf, especially when the table was on the outside of the ring the second time he done it. The first time he done it, the table was on the inside of the ring. So Mark Henry's out first. He's got the 3-6 Mafia song going on. He comes out to the announcer's table. He wipes it clean. He's jerking monitors out. He's throwing them left and right. He's getting the table prepped and ready so he can throw Kurt Angle on it. He comes out. He cuts a promo on how he's going to beat Angle and continue. And then, bump, ba-da, bump, ba-da, bump, bump. Kurt Angle's music hits. Goosebumps all up my arms. I get goosebumps every time Kurt Angle's music hits. I don't know why. I was a big mark for Kurt Angle back in the day. It's probably why I'm a huge Angle fan. So his music hits. I get the chills going completely up. Comes out. The crowd goes completely nuts. And then we get Mark Henry's power on full display. This was exactly what you thought it would be. Mark Henry versus Kurt Angle. This is the power versus the technicalities. Mark Henry had his power on. He body slammed. He was given the clotheslines. Kurt Angle was trying to take him off his feet. He was working his ankle and his leg the entire time. The match psychology here between the two was awesome. Kurt Angle done exactly what he was supposed to do, and Mark Henry did exactly what he needed to do. This was the beginning of one of the greatest runs Mark Henry's ever had, and they were really protecting Kurt Angle at this point in time. Having him not losing the King of the Ring, and then it'll go out to show at the end of this match. Kurt Angle's mouthpiece says revenge across it. They point that out 2 or 3 times. They get a couple of really good close-ups on it. The spot of the match, though, Mark Henry grabs Kurt Angle up. He's got him going for the world's strongest slam. He is getting ready to drop when Kurt Angle reverses this into a DDT. I popped bigger than shit in the living room when this happened. I jumped out of my seat, screamed. What an amazing reversal this was. And it was absolutely awesome. So Kurt Angle hits the DDT, then gets him up for an Olympic slam. Goes for the 3 count, but it only goes to 2 because Mark Henry kicks out of the Olympic slam. Kurt Angle then goes into the ankle lock, which Henry then pulls himself out of, throws Angle out of the ring. They go out. They're trying to put each other through tables. Mark Henry just absolutely brutalizes Kurt on the outside, rolls back in the ring before the ref gets to a 10, and you get a 10 count. I did not like that finish of the match. At that point, this went from a 4.5 down to almost a 3.5 just because the finish of the match. Well, that's not where the match actually ended, so good thing you didn't, because then we got a few chair shots, a low blow, and an ankle lock as Kurt Angle absolutely snaps on Mark Henry. Then he picks him up for the angle slam. Remember that table that Mark Henry cleared off in the beginning? Yeah, He gets angle slammed or Olympic slammed, whichever you want to call it, into the announce table, which he kind of slides off the back as the announce table falls. Mark Henry is out. The referees, the backstage area comes out, clears it out, gets Kurt Angle out of there because, again, the announcers want to make sure you know that Kurt Angle snapped. Again, this was another instance of the WWE protecting Kurt Angle, losing by countout. He forfeited as King of the Ring. They're still making sure Kurt Angle looked very strong through all this. Fantastic match. Fantastic match. This is a much watched. Please go back and watch this match. It was one of the better performances I think Mark Henry's ever given, and Kurt Angle's ring psychology was spot on this entire event. We go back and we get backstage. We got Booker T working out. We get Sharmell walking down the hall, where she then goes and tells Booker T that he's going to be the next king. And then she starts comparing him to every famous king in history. King George, King Louis. She goes into even comparing him to Martin Luther King and said King Kong ain't got nothing on King Booker. Then they flip to another King of the Ring package. This is showing the winners of the various King of the Rings. Show Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Edge. And then we find out it's been 4 years since we've had a King of the Ring. And we're going to get one tonight. And that match, my friends, is next. So, how did we get here? Well, like I said, Kurt Angle forfeited, allowed Booker T to move on to the finals. After Kurt Angle had beaten Randy Orton earlier, Booker T had beat Matt Hardy with a low blow, allowing him to advance. So Booker T really got there the heel way, which was perfect. Benoit and Finlay. Finlay hit Benoit with a steel chair, which led to Finlay going to the next match. We had Lashly moving on, advancing on, beating Finlay, going to the finals. So we have Booker T and Fit Finlay. So, first off, we get, can you dig it, sucker? Booker T, baby. Love me some Booker T. Then we get Bobby Lashley, who came out to a massive pop. You know, this is also very young Bobby Lashley, as you can see behind me here. This was young Bobby Lashley. Came out to a tremendous pop from the Phoenix crowd, and this was really a great match. You could tell Booker T was in the lead of this match going through. And man, Booker T took those hits from Lashley, and boy, did he sell them. They absolutely looked brutal, and this match was phenomenal. This was overall a great pay-per-view. Big hits, big chops, big slams. This match was the most intense match of the night. This felt like it had something big on the line. These two whoever got this, their career was going to be catapulted to the next level. Sharmell worked very good on the outside. She was a very good valet, and she did some very good manager things, distracting the ref, making sure she was cheering on her man Booker T, and that definitely boded well for Booker T in this match because he needed Sharmell's distractions in order to get the win. But he also needed to, maybe the biggest booze of the night was Fit Finlay when he came out and hit Bobby Lashley with the shillelagh. And that, my friend, was when Fit Finlay got booed the most. And the most heat of the night, outside of Melina, goes to Fit Finlay. Booker T wins the King of the Ring. But before we get there, I want to point out 3 scissor kicks. Look how much Bobby Lashley's standing up in that. Booker hit 3 of those, and that was probably the lowest one. Booker T, in his prime, was one of the most athletic men I think we've ever had in there. The height he could get on that scissor kick was phenomenal. So needless to say, I give this a 4 out of 5. Booker T wins the King of the Ring. He goes back up to the ramp. Sharmell puts the robe on him. He gets the crown, the scepter. He's all into it. He's sitting in the throne. He gets up just in time for Bobby Lashley running up the ramp to give him a spear through the throne before Bobby heads to the backstage area and Booker T's rolling around where Sharmel's trying to comfort him, and he's saying how bad his ribs hurt. Fantastic match. Definitely a must go and watch. The next match of the night cuts us to a promo. We see the debut of none other than the great Khali. And we see him come out against this man, the Undertaker, where he comes out and he delivers a big chop in the promo, decimating the Undertaker. We hadn't seen the Undertaker in weeks until Teddy Long goes back into Khali's dressing room and lets him know that he's got a challenge for Judgment Day. And that challenge is from the Undertaker. I can't even say it like Teddy Long says it. Teddy Long says Undertaker better than anyone else. So I'm not even going to try. But we get the great Khali versus the Undertaker. Giant versus giant. Really big giant versus giant. But man, nobody makes the Undertaker look small until the great Khali came in. Khali comes out, gets in the ring. Of course, you know, Khali doesn't move very well. One of the things I noticed, even this was a younger Khali than you know, the older Khali that we see around now. Daivari was Khali's manager. I think you kind of got a few more miles off of Khali if you would have had somebody like, say, Jim Cornette, either with them two or as Khali's manager. I think that would have made Khali the matches a lot more. I think he needed a better manager and a better mouthpiece. This match was unique, to say the least. Undertaker comes out, again, goosebumps all over. Anytime the Undertaker's entrance hits, if you don't get goosebumps, you're not a real wrestling fan, because the Undertaker has the most phenomenal entrance in wrestling history. I don't know of a more captivating for fans and other superstars than the Undertaker coming down that ramp. So we get a giant stare-off to begin the match. Taker's smaller than Khali, and this was really odd to see, even to a point where Undertaker delivered a headbutt and had to jump up to deliver the headbutt, which was really unique. Undertaker got to play the quick, light-footed person here, which I'm sure he actually probably enjoyed in this match. He also got thrown around a lot. Undertaker took a lot of bumps. He took 2 huge throws over the top rope. He took a throw when he first went up for Old School. Khali grabs him from the turnbuckles and throws him down. Khali gets to body slam the Undertaker in this match, which is something you don't see. All in all, Khali really did get to manhandle the Undertaker, and the Undertaker did everything he needed to do to put Khali over as a legitimate threat in the WWE. And he did a pretty good job. Undertaker gave everything he could for this match. Khali's mobility is so limited, though, that I don't know how much more you could have improved it. Besides, like I said, I think if you added someone like Jim Cornette to Great Khali, we may look back on his career a little differently. Khali with some giant clubs. Man, he hits you with those hands, and it's like a frying pan coming down on the top of your head. It did take 3 chops to knock the Undertaker out. And like I said, he got to body slam him. Undertaker eventually did get the Old School move in. Khali got the win and got to step on the Undertaker's chest. And I understand that the great Khali can't get down there and pin. But it's a very surreal moment when you see the Undertaker laying on the ground and another man just placing his foot on his chest in order to get the 1, 2, 3, which great Khali did. And this was a 2. Nothing against the Undertaker. Undertaker did everything he could in this match. The great Khali's mobility is just so limited, even at this point in his career, this early on in his WWE career. Anyways, I know he'd been wrestling for quite a while, but he's a spectacle. He's a giant, and you know, they did what they did. Khali had to work very slow. The end of the match was much better. When they were going back and forth, Khali would come in for a giant club. Taker would go in, get a few strikes in. That was the best part of the match. They were clicking on all cylinders during that point. But I can only give it a 2 because the beginning of the match started out slow. And it was just very awkward seeing someone as dominant as The Undertaker get pinned in that fashion. And the pinning scenario was really what ruined it for me, because I've seen The Undertaker go through hell and back with several other people, and there's no way that The Undertaker's not going to kick out with just a foot on his chest. So a 2 out of 5 for me on that one. But I did enjoy the match. We then go in to see a package of Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 22. Showing Rey Mysterio's winning his first ever World Heavyweight Championship. And this directly goes into a package of showing him and JBL, where JBL calls him out and then sets up a series of 3 matches leading to 3 weeks before this pay-per-view, where JBL takes advantage of Mysterio saying, "I'll fight anyone at any time." And so he had to fight Mark Henry. The following week, he fought the Great Khali. The week after that, he fought the Big Red Machine Kane. He lost all 3 matches. Thank goodness they were non-title matches. Of course, if they were title matches, Mark Henry would have been the heavyweight champion at this point. So we get to see that ultimately leading up to JBL getting the advantage of having Rey Mysterio beat down for 3 weeks by giants before heading into this match. JBL comes out with his United States Championship in tow. At this point, he's the JBL, the true American hero. Comes out still in the limousine, gets out. He's got the red and white zip up, kind of jogging suit top on. Got the cowboy hat, got the red, white, and blue on the back of his trunks. The ultimate U.S. antagonist, which was a really good JBL, by the way. This is JBL's best run of his career from when he won the title on through. Then we get Rey Mysterio coming out. They show that Rey Mysterio's wife is sitting ringside. And they plug the Reckless Intent album, and this fire burns during this match. The crowd goes absolutely nuts when the Booyaka Booyaka 619 hits and Rey Mysterio comes out. They go back and forth. Obviously, JBL really beating the shit out of Rey Mysterio, throwing him around. Just, they're really playing up so Rey Mysterio can get the great comeback as a babyface. JBL at one point takes him up and sets him up on the ring post. When he does that, they're looking eye to eye at this point. JBL kind of mouths out, this is the only time you can look at me in the face. And lo and behold, it was. But it was also the only time that Rey Mysterio could reach around and smack him right in the face, which again is another reoccurring theme through the entire show. Really good match. At some point in there, Bradshaw had busted Mysterio open, and Mysterio had on a white mask and a white outfit, and the blood really shone through a lot. It was coming from his forehead, and then it got down and it started coming out the eyes of the mask, back around to his head. At that point, covered in blood, JBL takes him out there, puts him right in front of his wife, runs his mouth a little bit, gets him back in there. Several close counts on this that JBL just can't put Rey Mysterio away. At one point, JBL even resorts to the thumb in the eye to try to take Mysterio out. So, again, 2 or 3 false finishes here. They get to a point, JBL's going up to throw him in a powerbomb. We love powerbombs here at the PowerBomb Nation. So JBL hoists him up, gets ready for the powerbomb. Rey counters into a Hurricane Rana, flips him onto that second rope, runs off, goes in for the 619. At this point, you can tell that Mysterio's out of it. When he runs for the 619, he kind of veers off a little bit. So you can tell Mysterio's probably had a concussion at this point, if I was to guess. Probably when he got his head busted open. There was also another point on one of the false finishes that the referee kind of slides his hand in under Ray's shoulder and taps on it a little bit. I'm assuming to make sure Ray knows to get his shoulder up so they don't accidentally crown a new World Heavyweight Champion, because I'm assuming Ray was fairly out of it for some of this match. You could really tell on the first 619 spot, though. So he goes in, hits the 619, JBL falls back. Of course, then he goes to the outside. He's going to jump up on the top rope and then land on JBL's chest for the 1, 2, 3. However, JBL pulls the ref in front of him. Mysterio kind of crossbodies the ref. They all go down. JBL then resorts to calling another ref in because he's then got Mysterio, the advantage on Mysterio. Calls for another ref. There's a 2 count there. He does not get the pinfall in. JBL gets upset at this ref, knocks him the hell out of the ring. It was Charles Robinson, by the way. Knocks him the hell out of the ring. And just in time for Mysterio to turn around, hits JBL with the chair, goes up for the frog splash, comes off with the frog splash, of course, a tribute to Eddie Guerrero at this point in time, hits the frog splash right as the first referee wakes up, counts the pin, 1, 2, 3. Fantastic match. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I was never a big fan of Mysterio. I'm a huge fan of JBL. But overall, a great championship match. A good way to close out the show. The color added a lot to it. I don't think I would have rated this match nearly as high had Rey Mysterio not got busted open. It really made a huge difference. Again, Rey Mysterio retains, still heavyweight champion of the world, Rey Mysterio. So, my verdicts on Judgment Day 2006, man, it was an 8 out of 10. I'd watch it again. It was slamtastic. I don't know what else to say. It was really good. Biggest star of the night, in my opinion, had to be Melina. I think Melina really had a breakout performance. She was in 3 or 4 segments. She had her own match. She was a manager of a match. She got fired. She had the interaction with Teddy Long and the GM. She had the most heat off the crowd. So, superstar of the night was definitely Melina. Best performance. Best match of the night, best pure wrestling match of the night was definitely Finlay and Benoit. You don't get many pure wrestling matches at this point in time. This was a pure wrestling match. It was solid gold. My favorite match of the night was Mark Henry versus Kurt Angle because it was heavy hitting. It had all the right psychology. It hit all the tones that I look for in a match. So again, 8 out of 10, Judgment Day 2006. It's a must watch. I would watch it again. I suggest you go watch it. And thank you again. Make sure you like the video if you want to see more content and more reviews. Make sure you give us a big old thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see more content. If you're listening to the audio, the podcast, make sure you hit the little feed button there in your podcast catcher of choice. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, any podcast player. We're on Pandora, iHeartRadio. We're on all the above. Just search for the PowerBomb Nation. You're going to get some great audio for your ears. If you want to tune in to the YouTube channel, we do a lot of wrestling content. We do a lot of other nostalgia content. We talk about all things, video games, Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, pro wrestling, all kinds of stuff being covered on the YouTube page. Please like and subscribe where you can. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the PowerBomb Nation. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.